Welcome everybody. I'd like to welcome you all to the Shared Services and Outsourcing Week. My name's Matthew Goss and I'm the Managing Director for Concur in Australia and New Zealand. And with me today, I have Kerri Loring, who is the Executive General Manager for Business Services at Downer. And we're really fortunate to have Kerri with us today to give some insight into Downer's journey as they've been undertaking a financial transformation. So welcome, Kerri.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me today. It's always a topic I could speak for hours on. I've spent many years in transformation, so looking forward to some questions today.
Yeah, no, I look forward to it. And look, thanks for joining me today. So look, my first question, Kerri, Downer has recently aligned its financial processes with the aim of achieving scale, synergy and integration across all areas. So what drove Downer to review and optimise the back-end processes?
I think the key for many businesses, and ours especially, is to remain competitive in the market. We really need to keep looking at how we improve and simplify. And the real shift for us with that shared services is around that value driving. And our company's been built on acquisition, so we've got a real footprint of many different applications, technologies, and systems and processes. So we really need to synergize those as much as possible and get that scale in the back end.
Yeah, and so was there a roadmap in place for the finance transformation prior to the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah, so for us, the roadmap has really been focused over the last decade around that digital and ERP consolidation. And, we had a lot of aging systems as well as I said, with the acquisitions that we've had. And I think it's been then in the last few years as we've streamlined those applications is really getting into more that process and operating model optimization. So in terms of formal roadmap, it's really been about that technology driving piece at the moment.
Okay. And with digital transformation, it can lead to trepidation and resistance. Have there been any challenges in terms of the change management?
I think, for me, change is a real big part of our organisation. We reinvent, we pivot, and we're moving. So yeah, look, there is always people don't generally like change, but it's something where if we approach it in the right way, people really do understand the why. And I think once we've got through that and we bring them on the journey, then it's a whole lot easier.
Okay, no, that's interesting. And so how has Downer facilitated the involvement of the finance and wider business teams in the change process?
So for us, right the way back when I was in our big transformation programs, it's all about bringing some really good change agents from the business, bringing the right people together and not thinking that you can do it from the centre. You actually need to involve the right people in the business. A good example of a small program we've been running is around our P2P improvement. And we formed a working group with representatives from across our business. We did a whole lot of interviews with end users and really making sure from what we're hearing that we then talk about, the why. Why are we doing this? What is the opportunity? And so the involvement is right from the beginning, building out the strategic insights right the way through to forming new solutions. And we try and approach that with everything that we do, whether it's a small technology change right the way through to a large system and solution change.
Okay, no, thanks for that. And so how did Downer leverage the technology and support of SAP Concur to facilitate this?
Okay, so for us, we've been using the SAP Concur product for almost the last, or more than 10 years, but I was involved in the transformation 10 years ago on moving to a single Downer Group solution with Concur. And we've been building on that. So we've had Spotless come into our group in the last couple of years and we've moved them on. And we've really, been a partner with SAP Concur on, adding on to some of the remit that we use with Expenseit coming on. That was a really, great opportunity for our users as well as even just using our policy audit through Concur now as well.
Yeah. And so Downer, so you're currently in the process of updating Concur Expense, so that'll be letting all users submit out-of-pocket expenses. And how has the change management process been with this project so far?
Yeah, so that's with our spotless users. So when we brought them on, it was more just around expense, and we're expanding it to the out of pocket. And it's really with the users that are currently users, and then we'll do it in tranches. And we're really treating it as just a small BAU type uplift as we go through. We've also got, the whole idea is that any of these applications like Concur, it's a group solution. And so as we've got acquisitions or anyone else, we just gradually move people on and get that partnering with SAP Concur.
Okay, and so what specific solutions has Downer leveraged to streamline its operations, particularly regarding its shared services strategy?
So for us, there's a few core technologies that we've put in right across the scale, and I guess we've started with some of the reporting tools, and then we've got Concur, and really just using the product to its extent as well. So that's in relation to Concur, and then more generally it's adding in the discipline around things like our service levels and working through some of those components and how things like Concur help us support that as well.
And Kerri, and as you said, we've been partners, for 10 plus years, but I just wonder if you could share a little bit of insight as to what it's actually been like working with the Concur team most recently.
Yeah, look, I think for us, it's just the innovation, and it's the relationship and the support that we get, and with obviously trying to leverage off as much as we can as a group solution and move along that journey. So yeah, look, we've always had that good partnering, and for me, having been on the journey 10 years ago, and then now in the last couple of years with things like Expenseit, some of these are really exciting initiatives that have grown the product. So big supporter.
Okay, no, appreciate the feedback. And so look, as Downer looks to expand this into new markets, how has it leveraged new technologies and solutions to improve its digital capabilities and shared services operations?
Yeah, I think for us, from a group perspective, it's trying to make sure that we've got products that are as much as possible cloud-based, that they've got really good apps, that they're really simple. We're really looking at products that simplify the user experience. For our operations teams, there's a lot that they have to cover. They're managing safety and zero harm and risk on one hand. They're managing people. That's really what we work with all the time, and then we're trying to manage whether it be expense or other components around financials. So we really need applications that are simple, that are easy to use, that we can get out to all variances of people. And it's not just for us, most of our workforce isn't sitting at a desk. They're out on the road, we're on sites, we're on thousands of sites right the way around in all different industries. So it's really important that we've got apps that can suit the variety of backgrounds.
I appreciate the detail of that answer. And so what capabilities or technologies has Downer found essential in terms of continuing to seamlessly deliver shared services into your organisation?
I think for us now, we've moved through from, so I guess so much around the technology focus. We've been quite fortunate that we have, in most cases, a single solution for a lot of our, functions. It's then in that more capability set that we're really moving towards around that, metrics and reporting. We've been investing quite a lot in terms of our scorecards and service levels, and really trying to then utilize the technologies that we have to then, build out that side of that with us, and really that partnering with the businesses that we work with, reporting on, our customer needs and making sure that we're reactive to that as well.
Yeah. And sort of somewhat related to that, what challenges has Downer faced during the pandemic that's forced it to assess its technology stack and to look to new opportunities or solutions to streamline business?
So I get one of the impacts, unfortunately, for the pandemic for us was the New Zealand the transformation. So that had to slow down quite a lot. We had to return our Australian team back from New Zealand and put on hold that ERP transformation. But what that's then enabled us to do is focus on some more of the process side and then just take stock as to, well, how are we going to do this, obviously with a changing landscape around us as well.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. And so we talked about change management earlier, and you mentioned that I think all of our business lives, that sort of change is a part of that. And I'm really curious, if you could sort of talk through how Downer's developed its change culture.
Okay, and from a change culture, it's really been around, as I said earlier, bringing the business and people on the journey, really making sure that we invest in good change resources. So, I've got a change management practice within our centre, and that's really not to be doing the change, but it's to help support and, really managing communication. And as I said, getting those change agents, making sure that, we're working with the business, really understanding the why, that change impact assessment, and working through right from the ground up. So really introducing as early on as we can, and by doing that and being consistent, and I think being consistent with that all the way through. So that's the approach that I personally have taken for the last 10 years that I've been working in different programs across Downer, and we now have a capability that runs across in terms of how we manage and approach change, which helps everyone know what to expect.
Yeah, it's been interesting the last sort of year or so, and certainly as we've engaged with customers as well, is just the, as we know with all transformations, it's really success is somewhat measured by the quality of the change management, and it's been quite interesting the way businesses have had to adapt that part of their business. So it's interesting to hear that you've got that change management team, and as certainly we've sort of engaged with the businesses similar to yours about trying to really refine that capability to ensure that these programs still can be deployed. So no, I appreciate you sharing your insight there. And so next question. So innovation is becoming increasingly critical in shared services. And so what are the key benefits that Downer hopes to achieve through its digital transformation?
Oh, really, in one word, simplify. It's really about simplification. From I said, a user experience set, and then from just a technology stack. With coming into a business where we are so diverse in terms of the work that we do and the customers we serve, we've really got to try and make sure we keep simple our technology and the solutions that we have, and really keeping pace with, there's so much that changes quickly. We don't want to set ourselves up to a quite set roadmap, and then by the time we implement it, it's outdated and we have to move on. I think that's one of the things I've been reading a bit about lately, is you've really got to keep your eye on what's happening out in the markets, and really that some of the technology at the moment is changing so quickly.
Yeah, it is interesting in that respect. What we do know is a lot of businesses, when they undertake major digital financial transformations, go back ahead of the pandemic, budget, risk, and now because of the importance of sort of shifting everything to the cloud to give that business resilience, we're seeing a lot of the businesses where they're really focusing on is so that they can leverage drive as much value as possible from that transformation. That is now sort of the priority. So we're sort of seeing things have changed quite rapidly, over the last 12 to 18 months, or specifically the last 12. And so, Kerri, so not all companies will have the resources behind them to undertake a digital transformation. So what are the key lessons that you can give from Downer's experience that would be valuable to other executives to take away?
I think start anywhere. start somewhere and start building out on it. And with if you've got a diverse business where there's a lot of differences in terms of process and solutions, then start with one and start building out. If you're making the right decision around the why of the technology or the why of the process you're wanting to implement, then start building out, because then once you build that out, it will grow and you can start moving it further and further along. I think for us, we did a lot of the technology piece as separate to really getting the processes harmonized and optimized, and the operating model, and we've I guess circling back to that now. Others will bring that together and do it all in one go. I think that's the biggest lesson for me, is sometimes it's just about starting somewhere and getting that momentum, making that work through. For us with Concur, with any of our applications, we've built out on it as we've gone. There's always an interesting discussion if you draw up a box and you ask an executive where they think they're going to land when you deploy a solution, and quite often they'll draw themselves at the end of the box. And I say, no, you're at the beginning of the box. When you go live with something, you really are just starting the journey. Yeah. You want to get to the end of the box, but don't think that when you just roll something out, no matter how great your project is, no matter how great your change plan is, you really are at the beginning of the box. And it's just about how quickly you get to the end of that box. And that's something that we've really tried to learn on as we've spent years and years in the group trying to improve. And we've moved from 7 ERPs down to 1. We've onboarded countless number of businesses. We've moved into different technologies and apps that sit over around the core ERP, and we haven't pretended to think that we can do it all in one go. I think that's the starting point. You don't need a massive budget right from the outset.
No, it's definitely a journey. And well, look, Kerri, I'd like to thank you, for being here today. Look, I'm sure the insights you've given will be extremely valuable, for the people that have tuned in to watch the interview. So thanks very much for your time today.
Great to have a chat, Matt. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you.
So much.